What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Dauntless Dads podcast Q&A edition with your boy. Today, we're going to jump right into this question because, man, I have dealt with this question myself with my wife and my family, and I know a lot of guys do. So here's the question that this individual asked. He said, how can I broach the subject with my wife of needing more time to work, more work time? And in parentheses, he said, we're a sole income household, and we have a new baby at home. So there's a lot of variables going on here with this. And I just want to tell, everybody and this individual, this question, I really do feel your pain, right? We have been a sole income household for, 14 years. And as most of you know, I have 6 children. And in that time, we've had a lot of ups and downs when it comes to income, finances, all of these things. And there have been times where, whether it's we started our CrossFit gym, which was our first business, and I was working a ton, and it's like I had to work more to make more and all this stuff. This is a real problem because, as we'll get to in a minute, it is such a nuanced answer, right? And so I want to, as I laid out last week, as far as opinion, theology, dogma, I'm going to answer this one heavily from the opinion side. And heavily from the opinion side / I've lived this and we've worked through this and we've seen great outcomes from this. But man, if this is you or you've gone through this or you are going through this, just know this is literally one of those conversations that would be much better had over a cup of coffee and not just me talking into a microphone on a podcast. But man, so let's just jump into it. The first thing that I would ask this individual is this: do you need more time for work, or do you need to be more focused and efficient with the time that you actually have, right? Like, are you planning your work strategically ahead of time before you go into the day, or are you jumping into the day like a chicken with your head cut off and just trying to put out fires and do whatever kind of comes up and you feel like you need to do? Because right now, I am in a season where I am working a job 40 hours a week, I'm running a business, and I'm doing consulting. Okay? And I'm now the running of business and the consulting are suffering a little bit on purpose because I'm working these 40 hours. But at the same time, what I've also realized in this season of time is when I get days off, I have a to-do list ready to go, and I go into those 2 days off ready to execute on things that are very clearly defined because they're helping me achieve certain outcomes. I'm going in very focused, very strategic, very planned. And if I didn't have those things, I would probably just go into it thinking, what in the world am I going to do? Like these podcasts right now, I'm recording 4 podcasts in a row. I had to outline all of these podcasts, get the questions, write my answers out, block out the time in the 2 days off I have, and prioritize them. This was part of what I was going to be doing to further the business, further influence, further provide value to people. And a lot of people would sit around and be like, oh my God, I can't find time to do this and blah, 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 all these things. Well, are you making efficient use of the time you currently have? And be really honest with yourself. Are you planned? Are you strategic? Do you know the outcomes you're trying to get? Do the things on your calendar reflect the outcomes that you're trying to achieve? Or are you going into the day with a massive 8 or 9 hour block of time on your calendar that just says work, and you don't even really have much of a to-do list or much strategy with what you're doing? That would be the first thing I look at before you ever have this conversation with your wife is, are you making efficient use of your time? Because if you're not, and you want to put the burden on your wife and say, I need more time instead of being with the family, what you're really saying is, I need more time because I'm not being diligent and responsible with what I already have. And so now you get to bear the burden of my lack of responsibility and planning. And if that's you, that's not cool. Your wife should not have to bear an extra burden because you are unplanned, unorganized, and irresponsible. And that might feel like a kick in the nuts, but you might need a kick in the nuts. And if that is you, there's no shame or condemnation with that. Just accept this as a bit of coaching from Cody. Accept this as a little bit of a, hey, you don't need more time. You're just not being very useful with what you have. So change it. Get more planned. Get more strategic. The second thing that we would start to move into is, and it's super important, is approaching this challenge as an us challenge and not a you versus me challenge. Because where I have seen a lot of husbands go wrong with this is, well, my wife is demanding that she needs more, she needs more, she needs more, she needs more. And then the conversation that you end up having is, babe, you're asking for so much more of me, but I need to work and I can't do both like this much. And this is so hard and all of this. That is a you versus me mentality. And what you're doing is, instead of attacking the problem, you're really attacking the person. And when you do that, you're setting yourself up for failure before you even get started. So with that said, make sure that you approach this with we are going to solve this problem, not I am going to try and solve the problem of you demanding more of me. Because if your wife really does need more of you, it's incumbent upon you to figure out how to do that. And you do that by answering the first question I asked. Like, do you need more time, or do you suck at using the time you have? But make sure you approach this and be very clear with your language, with your wife. Hey, we need to figure this out. We need to figure this out because we matter. Our family matters. And part of making that family successful is me being successful at work and me being successful at home. So let's solve this together and figure out how to do it together. So that's the second thing. And that's really the mindset that I would encourage you to go into this conversation with. Third, and I alluded to it in the second piece there, but you have to lead with vision. And Scripture is really clear. Where there's no vision, people run wild, right? And you might be feeling like that if this is you, or you've been in this situation. You just feel like you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off. And that is because you don't have any vision. If your wife is needing more time from you and you feel like you need more work time, what that is, it's two competing visions. And whenever you have two competing visions, you have division. Two visions. That's why you feel divided with your wife right now. You have two competing visions. So the first thing that you need to do is get vision for what does success in our family with being a sole income household look like, and what does success look like with being a present father at home. Get a clear vision for that. If you don't get a clear vision for those things, you don't know the direction you need to start to go. So lead with vision. Lead with solving the vision problem first, because if you solve the vision problem first, a lot of questions get answered simply from that vision, because you can start to say no to certain things or yes to certain things because they align with the vision and the outcomes that you want. So that would be a question that I ask, / that'd be something you need to do first is, do you have vision for those areas? Are you unified in those visions? Have you arrived at those together in unity? If not, get that first, and then let that start to solve some of the other questions that are being posed. Next, get clear on expectations and a plan. Once you get a vision and you know the outcome you want, you have to be very, very clear on expectations, right? One of my favorite things that my mentor taught me is unmet expectations always lead to frustration. And what he meant by that was, most of the time, everybody has expectations. Your wife has expectations. You have expectations. Everyone has expectations. Most of the time, those expectations have never been clearly articulated to anybody. And when a expectation is not clearly articulated to anybody, nobody has the ability to meet that expectation. And because nobody has the ability to meet that expectation, it's going to lead to frustrations. So get super clear on expectations. When will you be where? How long will you be there? And some people will think like, isn't this like micromanaging your wife or your husband or your family? No, that's being very clear on expectations. And when you're clear with that, you'll have far less frustration in your life. Some of you, the frustrations that you're dealing with in your marriage or in your life with your wife are simply because you don't have any clear expectations for anything. It's just all up in the air. There's no vision. There's no expectations. There's no clarity. And so everyone's frustrated and pissed off all the time because nothing is clear. So get clear on expectations and get clear on a plan. How are we doing this? Timeframes, all of this. Boom, 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 boom. What does this all look like? This all needs to be mapped out with your wife. These kind of details mean something to your wife. They mean that you're thinking of her, that you're prioritizing the family, all of these things. And when you can win in both of these arenas like this, it's phenomenal. We had a meeting like this with our whole entire family a couple weeks ago. When I was stepping into this new job, 40 hours a week, I was going to be away from home for 40 more hours a week because I've been working at home for the past couple of years. We sat down with the entire family. First, I had a conversation with Steph, my wife, one-on-one. And then we sat the entire family down. And I laid everything out. Here are the expectations. Here's the plan. Here's the vision. Here's the why. And we got very clear on that. And I'm going to take a sip of coffee because I feel like I'm going to cough. And I'm not going to edit this out because I don't have time to scrub through stuff and edit. But with all of our 6 kids, we sat there. We talked about it. And then at the end, I said, hey, time for questions. What questions you got? And half our kids had questions. And so I answered them and we moved on. But you have to get clear on expectations and a plan. Another cough. Like I said, I don't have time to jump in and edit this. Woo, man. My throat. I haven't podcasted in a few weeks. So my throat just might be not liking this right now. Okay, so once you get clear on expectations and a plan, sounds like I'm about to start crying, but I'm not. The next thing you need to do is test the new schedule for 30 days. Okay, test it for 30 days. And every week, have a check-in with your wife. Once you have the plan, you have the vision, the expectations, everything. We're gonna try this for 30 days, sweetie. Cool. You start it, boom. 7 days in, you have a team meeting, you and your wife. Check in, how's it going? How we doing? And you make micro adjustments. And then you go to the next week. Every 7 days, you have a check-in, okay? At the 30-day mark, what you're gonna do is you're going to sit down and you're going to have an entire debrief with your wife. Okay. So we've had these micro check-ins along the way. How's it going? How you feeling? How you feeling emotionally, spiritually, physically, all this stuff with this new plan we've been executing. Then you make larger shifts and pivots. And then you continue this entire process until you get to a place where you finally feel like you're winning with all of it. You keep the vision primary. You keep this as an us challenge, not a you versus me. You're always super clear on expectations and a plan. And you're constantly checking in, constantly making adjustments. You do those things, and I guarantee you will be able to be successful at work and have as much time as you need and win at home as well. So with that said, and before I start coughing the rest of my lungs out, we're going to call this one. Love you guys. We'll talk to you next week.